Hello everyone, in this video I am going to show you about Neutralinojs file systems API. So there are like lot of methods in this file system namespace of Neutralinojs. So we have methods to create directories, and we have methods to manipulate files, and we can work with binary files as well, and we can inspect directories as well. We can read directories. So there are set of things. We can copy files. Basically we can manipulate files and also folders in your file system using this Neutralino.file system namespace. So to demonstrate that, I already created the new application using new CLI, as you can see here. So in here I am going to execute several commands in the console and show you how this file system API is working. I am going to run my application very first. Going to enter new run. I am going to open up this DevTools window here. Then I am going to enter some commands here, some code lines to demonstrate this Neutralino file system. So let's try out this folders related methods very first. There are several methods like create directory, remove directory, and read directory as well. So let's try out one very first. So I'm going to create some files and folders here. So if you need to create files and folders in this applications directory, in other words this neutralino.config.json files location, you can use one global variable called nl path. So if I enter this nl path global variable here, so we can see dot means currently this application path is this. So if I concatenate this nl path with my original path where I need to create files and directories, I can create files and directories here, right? So if you need to create files and folders in the current directory, so if I enter nlcwd, I can get the current directories path like this. So if you need to create files and directories in this current directory, you can enter this nlcwd in your code and concatenate with the file paths, right? Right now it's the same. This in this context, dot means also this location, and this absolute path also refers to this location, right? So right now I am going to create some files here, some folders right now. Let's check the first function, create directory, right? I'm going to create a folder called abc here, neutralino.file system, and create directory. Here I need to pass the path where the new folder should be created. So it should be created in nl path abc, right? I need to create abc in this application path. So if I enter that, the folder is created, right? It's just empty folder. So if I need to remove this directory, I can enter remove directory method, right? I need to pass the same file name as it is, same path, nl path and abc. Now the folder is deleted, right? If I try to delete the folder again, I will get an error, right? Because the folder doesn't exist right now. Let's try another folder related API method. We can try, I think, read directory method. So for that I need to get some result, right? So for that I am going to enter await, because I need to see some results here. Neutralino.file system.read directory, right? Basically the path is nl path. Let's say I am going to read this resources directory, the contents of resources directory. I can enter like this. So I have some object here. Inside the object we have two keys. This is basically default key which is common for all the results. So we have this entries object, right? It's kind of array right now. So we have folders. If the type is directory, it is basically a folder. So we have JS folder. If you can see the inside of the folder, we have JS, and we have icons folder. It's also a directory. We have several files as well. Style.css, as you can see here. After that we have some special directories as well, dot and double dot. Next we can try some file manipulation methods. Now we checked about folder manipulation methods already. So I'm going to clear the console and go back into that application directory, and I'm going to enter some file related API methods. First of all, let's try to create a file here. I'm going to enter Neutralinojs file system. There's a method called write file, and here we can pass file name with the nl path global variable. I'm going to create a new file called, let's say, myfile.txt. We can provide content using data attribute. Data is kind of a attribute that accepts a string value. We can enter maybe hello world. So once I enter that here, I can see the new file is created right here. If I open that one, the text I entered is already stored, right? So it works. So I can update the same file. I can basically overwrite some data into the same file. Let's say hello Neutralinojs. Same file is updated right now with the text I recently entered, right? I can remove this file as well. Before removing, let's try to read this file and get the content. For that I am going to enter read file method. I need to use with the await because I am going to get a result. No need to provide data here because we need to get data. We don't know the data yet, the content yet. I am going to read this file. So here we have data, the content of the file. Like as you can read files and update or write files, right? I can remove this file as well. There's a method called remove file. Now the file is removed, right? We can move files and copy files as well. I'm going to create the file again by entering this command again. Here we have the file again, right, with the same content, hello Neutralinojs. Let's say I'm going to move this file to maybe another file called myfile2. For that I can use Neutralinojs file system. There's a method called move file. Basically we can reuse this method. We can use this method for renaming as well. So if we move this file to this location with another name, so it is basically renaming a file, no? Let's try to do that. For the move file we can provide two parameters. We can provide very first the source of the file, source file. Basically it is in nl path and my file. Then we can enter the destination path or the file name, myfile2.txt. So if I execute this one, the file is basically moved to here with another file name, right? You can move this file to another folder as well. Let's try to copy this file. I'm going to copy this my file to my file .txt, which we had before. For that I'm going to use copy file method. It's very similar to this that move file method as well. We have source and destination similarly. So the source should be my file 2 and destination should be my file, right? Now we have two files. We have the previous file my file 2 and new file called my file, which is a copy of this my file 2 with the different file name, right? Now we tried, I think, more methods. We tried create directory, remove. This one already tried. We need to try this binary related methods as well. We already tried those things, right? There's another method called get stats method. We added this one very recently because developers mentioned that they need to have a method to check whether file exists or not. So this one can be used for those scenarios. Also this one can be used to get file information, to check whether the file given path is file or directory, to check whether basically a file or directory exists, or to get the file size likewise. So this method will return several things. It will return size in bytes. It will return another two boolean flags as well, is file and is directory. Let's try this method here. I'm going to first get some information of this file, this my file.txt. For that I need to enter Neutralino.filesystem get the stats. Basically here we need to provide the file path or directory path. I'm going to enter nl path and my file. Need to use await because I am going to get some result objects. As you can see, we have some results here. We have is directory is false because this is not a directory. Is file is true because this is a file. We have size as 18 bytes. We can double check. It's right. Let's try to get some information about a directory, not a file. Let's try to get information about resources. So we have this is directory is true, right? If you enter some path that doesn't really exist in your file system, like maybe resources 2, it will throw an error. Then you can use try catch, and inside catch you can implement some code to handle this error, right? Oh, if you are using promises, you can use basically .catch to handle this error. Now finally we can try about binary file manipulation. There are two methods in Neutralinojs file system for binary file manipulation: write binary file and read binary file. We are going to try those two things. First we can try this write binary file method. So this method looks bit similar to write file method that we tried earlier, but there are some differences. So file name is similar, the same, but the data attribute is different, right? For that we need to provide array buffer instance. Earlier we provided some string to write basically textual data, but here we need to write binary data using array buffer, right? If we check the documentation, this is basically a kind of a holder to store some raw binary data. So to manipulate this one, we need to use additional objects in JavaScript, right? So we can try those things. Let's say I'm going to store 1 byte on disk using this write binary file method. So I'm going to open the console. So here I need to create array buffer very first. I'm going to create AB object as this array buffer instance. For the constructor I need to provide some length. I said earlier I need to store 1 byte, so the byte length is 1. So if I log this one, I can see the byte length is 1, the instance is created. So to store some data inside this array buffer, I need to create another object. So there are several options. We have uint 8 array, so we can store unsigned 8 byte. There are some other things as well, uint 16, 32, but right now I am going to use this uint 8. So we can have integer arrays as well, not only unsigned integers, we can have integer arrays as well. So let's try to use that uint 8 array instance. So I'm going to create one maybe inside a. So for the constructor we need to provide array buffer instance identifier. So I'm going to enter AB. So if I log this one, I can see there's nothing inside, right? No data is stored inside this uint 8 array, but we can save up to one instance, one data. I'm going to assign 65 into this 0th index of our uint 8 array. Now it is saved. Now I can use that method, right? So I'm going to use neutralino.filesystem.write binary file. In there we need to provide a file name. Need to use nl path. I'm going to save the file inside this application directory. So the file is maybe myfile.bin. For data we need to enter that instance of the array buffer, right? We created it as AB. Now the file is created, right? If I open this one, I can see letter A, right? As you remember earlier, I saved 65. 65 means basically letter A in ASCII system, right? We can read that binary file as well. So we can read that file I created earlier, this myfile.bin. So inside this myfile.bin I stored ASCII character A. In other words, I just stored 65 integer value. Now we can read this one. So for that we can use neutralino.filesystem.read binary file. That is very similar to read file, but here we are dealing with binary data and binary files. We can use file name with nlp as usual. The file name is myfile.bin. Since we are capturing an output, we need to use await. I'm going to capture the output into resp variable maybe to get the response. So inside this resp variable we have data key. The data key consists of array buffer. So to read this one, we need to have that uint 8 array, because we saved it using uint 8 array, right? I can create new uint 8 array instance, and I can simply pass resp.data, which is the array buffer, right? Now we have 65, basically the value I stored earlier, right? So this is how you can work with Neutralinojs file system. I think we covered almost all methods. By the way, we recently added multiple windows support into Neutralinojs. So in next video I am going to show you how you can create multiple windows in Neutralinojs. See you in next video.